striking at people while they're down.
With many homes vulnerable, police are hoping good nature prevails and the town's sense of loss doesn't grow. Gina Pickering, 10 News.
Through the area, injuring dozens of people and leaving a damage bill that'll run into millions. More than 20 state emergency service crews are working to make the area safe and restore services. Upwards of 100 buildings have been damaged, some have been destroyed. The storm struck with the force of a mini tornado. Merimbula's been hardest hit. Merimbula also has suffered extensive damage. Scott Simpson reports.
Most people were settling in for a quiet Easter Sunday evening when the violent electrical storm struck. For 30 terrifying minutes, roofs were torn from houses, power lines brought down, and large trees uprooted and snapped like twigs.
There was absolutely no warning, it just came straight through. There was a strong wind, so we closed the windows, and then all of a sudden everything started caving in, collapsing, blowing down around us, and it was frightening. Never heard anything like it before.
The damage underlines the ferocity of the storm as bewildered residents wandered through the remains of what used to be their homes. Sheets of iron wrapped around trees and power poles like scarves. At Merimbula, the local bowling club has been among those hardest hit.
I just saw all the people running from downstairs, so I flew upstairs to see if I could help stop them panicking, and the whole roof started to collapse and the windows were just breaking in, and it was just like a mini cyclone.
All up, the State Emergency Service estimates 80 homes and 10 motels have been damaged at Merimbula, while a few kilometres south at Merimbula, as many as 20 houses have been damaged, while a caravan park has been devastated. 32 people needed treatment for minor injuries. 4 of them are still in Merimbula and Bega hospitals. In the light of day, the massive clean-up has continued as the extent of damage has become evident. Where homes once stood has been replaced by a pile of rubble. The eye of the storm has cut a narrow path of destruction, with Merimbula Drive and Reed Street taking the full brunt of the ferocious winds. A welfare centre has been set up at Merimbula Showground, while for Caravan Park residents, emergency accommodation is available at the park's game centre. Others left homeless by the storm are being cared for by family and friends. A severe storm hotline has been set up for anyone requiring help in the Merimbula-Merimbula area. The number is 064 95 4000. Scott Simpson, Prime Local News.
And Scott will be linking up with the SES crews at Merimbula tomorrow. We'll bring you his report tomorrow.
7 Nightly News with Ross Simons.
A devastating storm wrecks South Coast towns. Good evening. Residents and holidaymakers in the South Coast town of Merimbula are recovering tonight after a tornado tore through the seaside town. Cars and caravans were flipped, houses blown apart, but incredibly, no one was seriously injured.
In less than a minute, a peaceful Easter Sunday in Merimbula was blown apart as dozens of homes and motel rooms exploded. The mini cyclone tore a random trail of destruction through the holiday town. One home flattened to the foundations. Next door, not a single broken window.
The noise told you to get out of the office, and the lady I was talking to, we got into the lounge area and the roof collapsed.
74-year-old Wilga Druitt hid in the bathroom as the storm destroyed her home.
I could hear the roof being torn off. It's unbelievable.
39 people were injured in the freak storm, which swept through the tourist towns of Merimbula and Merimbula. It damaged more than 200 houses, leaving about 500 people homeless and the area without power for several hours. Emergency crews will continue the clean-up today.
But there was no loss of life and only 4 people remain in hospital. SES, Fire Brigade and bushfire crews, who rushed to the stricken towns within the hour, are now returning home, leaving local volunteers to finish off the job.
Or welfare services tonight as the people of Merimbula and Merimbula try to rebuild their shattered communities. Only now is the total picture of destruction of the mini tornado which struck on Sunday night beginning to emerge. Scott Simpson reports the latest estimates are that 200 homes have suffered some form of damage in the storm.
To take a drive through the worst affected areas of Merimbula gives the full impact of the devastation. Debris that is the footpath, dozens of homes without roofs, rubble where homes once stood. Karen Granger and her husband were in the lounge room of their Merimbula Drive home. They heard a sudden roar of howling winds and grabbed their 3 children out of bed.
My husband jumped up and raced in to get my eldest daughter and brought her in, and the whole roof fell in on top of us. The plasterboard hit my daughter on the back. We just lay there in the dark. My husband was yelling, don't move, there's live wires everywhere. And we couldn't move because the roof was on top of us.
For 10 terrifying minutes, the family huddled together on the floor as their home disintegrated around them.
The whole section, top section of our house had lifted off and ended up on the road. All our kitchen stuff, my dishwasher, all the kitchen benches are all up here on our front lawn.
Amazingly, unlike so many other stories of survival around the town, the Grangers have just a few cuts and bruises to show for their ordeal. Across the road at Ocean Blue Units, no homes have been spared, although some can see the irony of their situation.
Lived in Darwin for 7 years, did a huge research paper on Cyclone Tracy, and I can now appreciate a lot of the stuff that they went through.
Already damage estimates are put at about $30 million, with almost 500 people homeless. What took just 10 minutes to totally wreck will take weeks and in most cases months to rebuild. It's a sobering reminder of just how vulnerable we really are to the awesome power of nature. At Merimbula Beach Caravan Park, the cleanup is continuing. Vans ripped open after being tossed about like toys.
After the initial shock, people are going to go into depression, people are going to go into shock, and there are professional services available for these people.
And if you need help, there's a hotline number you can call. That number is 064 95 4000. Scott Simpson, Prime Local News.
One major insurer, the NRMA, says it'll pay out in excess of $1 million in claims from the storm. Other companies have yet to release estimates, and the Salvation Army is running an appeal for furniture and household goods, including blankets and linen, for victims of the mini tornado. Those with items to give should contact the Salvos on 064 921 442 or 064 923 524.
Been since the devastating storm hits have been out in force again. The Salvation Army providing in a practical way for those left homeless.
Well, we're just trying to get together some hot food ready for anyone and everyone who's ready for a hot meal.
The Salvos have also launched an appeal to help victims of the storm.
Raising funds that we'll need. We don't know what we need, but there's definitely a real need here. People have responded wonderfully with blankets, clothing, furniture, but the need just keeps going on because this just keeps going on.
The storm cut a narrow path of destruction through Merimbula and Merimbula, leaving a trail of debris in its wake. As the initial shock of that terrifying 10 minutes passes, professional counsellors have warned the danger now is post-ordeal trauma, and they're encouraging victims to make use of services available.
The long-term effects on the people and their mental health are extremely important. And it's very important, too, that the children are not overlooked in this. The children suffered the same trauma and the same shock and fright that the adults suffered.
Tourism will be a temporary casualty of the storm, with holiday accommodation among the buildings damaged.
Well, it was very Easter time. We were full up. People had to go home the next morning.
Just down the road, the John Dory holiday units have been hit even harder. Workmen already beginning the rebuilding process.
It's just like business. It's very bad news for the owners.
Most of these units had been heavily booked for Easter. They've lost that business now, and in most cases, it will be at least a few months yet before they can even think of reopening. Fortunately, insurance should cover most of the losses. And late today, SES crews have been battening down again, with weather forecasters predicting strong winds to hit the far south coast this evening. Scott Simpson, Prime Local News.
And Merimbula. Moved by the devastation the storm has left in its path, the Netheries are donating their unwanted furniture to those who now desperately need it.
Because everything is desperately needed down there, going by the pictures on the television.
Well, you've got to feel sorry for them. Hopefully the Illawarra people and the rest of New South Wales get together and give some stuff and get it down there, see if we can fix them up again.
The Salvation Army launched its appeal yesterday, but there's a major hitch. It's finding difficulty transporting the goods to the south coast. So if you have any spare furniture or household goods like bed linen or pots and pans, call the Salvation Army. They also need anyone with trucks or utes who can transport the goods down to the south coast. Jodie Duffy, Prime Local News.
And anyone who'd like to offer to transport materials to the devastated areas can contact the Salvation Army at Bega. If you have a cash donation, you can leave it at any branch of the Westpac Bank or post it to the Salvation Army, PO Box 107 Bega. Materials or household goods can be delivered to the Salvation Army shop at Merimbula.
Merimbula and Pambula storms, sensing their vulnerability as a means to a quick profit. In a cruel twist to the tragedy, the need to rebuild more than 100 homes promises a boon for the construction industry. Scott Simpson reports.
Steve Hall has been in the building game for 18 years. The past 4 days have been the busiest of his working life. The cruel irony of the devastation is that it will boost an ailing building industry.
There's obviously going to be money made out of the rebuilding of the work and so forth, but it'd be nice to see any of that money stay within the town rather than leave with anybody that comes in from outside to do the work.
Almost 200 homes and buildings have been damaged to some extent. For most of the homes, they have to be demolished and then rebuilt.
I suppose as far as the building industry goes, it'll be good for the area, but it's not a good way of doing it, is it? It's come on in an unfortunate way more than anything.
With millions of dollars of rebuilding to be done now, there's enough work here to keep tradesmen busy for a long time to come. Yet there's also the danger of shonky operators looking for a quick profit. To protect homeowners, the Building Services Corporation has been busy door-knocking to offer advice.
We're trying to hand out kits to people to explain the building process, to try and avoid the problems that happened following the Newcastle earthquake. In that case, a lot of fly-by-nighters and rather shonky tradesmen got involved, and we're still cleaning up that mess.
And there's always someone willing to seize upon a business opportunity, although much of the money raised through the sale of these T-shirts will go to storm victims. Scott Simpson, Prime Local News.
And don't forget, you can help the storm victims by donating money at any Westpac bank or sending goods and cash to the Salvation Army in Bega.
On the far south coast overnight. State Emergency Services spent the day conducting a massive clean-up of destroyed houses, caravan parks and uprooted trees.
Ferocious in its intensity, the electrical storm lasted just half an hour. In that time, hundreds of thousands of dollars damage was caused to 80 homes and 10 motels in Merimbula, as well as a further 20 homes at Pambula.
Everything just, your ears went, and all of a sudden there was just an explosion type thing, and it just, glass everywhere. Everything just shattered. It was horrible.
The Bureau of Meteorology has described it as a tornado, ripping roofs off houses, snapping trees in half and bringing down power lines. State Emergency Service personnel and council workers rushed to the area to secure houses and provide emergency electricity to Merimbula Police Station and Pambula Hospital. However, the extent of the damage was only revealed this morning.
It's an awesome sight. It's unbelievable. You'd expect this sort of thing after a bomb goes off, but certainly not in the township of Merimbula.
At Pambula, 20 caravans had been turned upside down, many of them with holiday makers still inside. The SES claims it's a miracle nobody was killed.
The little girl was in a bed on her own, and she got frightened and got in with her parents. And minutes later, the ceiling just ploughed into the bed where she'd been lying.
4 people were taken to Pambula Hospital, 1 woman suffering electrical burns. Another 30 people have been treated for minor injuries.
There was a huge gust of wind and rain, and we realised that we had to get out of the van. So there were 6 of us, and 4 of us got out, and just as I was about to get out of the van, it tipped over.
Today, the clean-up continued as 25 teams of SES personnel, including a convoy from Sydney, responded to 120 calls for assistance.
Kids were asleep, so they didn't know until we actually dived on top of them and said sort of stay down, and of course they just cracked up there.
Illawarra Electricity worked to restore power to Merimbula by mid-morning. Pambula was affected by the blackout until late afternoon. The exact cost of the damage is yet to be determined.
Good evening. In a matter of minutes last night, destructive winds as powerful as a cyclone caused a trail of destruction through South Coast holiday resorts. Merimbula and surrounding communities are still counting the cost tonight, with 39 people injured and damage to hundreds of homes and businesses.
Some say 10 seconds, others 5 minutes, but however long it lasted, the storm had a catastrophic impact.
Everything started caving in, collapsing, blowing around or blowing down around us, and it was frightening.
It roared in just after 7 last night, hitting the coastal retreats of Merimbula and Pambula filled with holidaymakers. But the night hid the real picture of destruction. It was revealed in its fullest this morning.
It's an awesome sight. It's unbelievable. You'd expect this sort of thing after a bomb goes off.
The mini-cyclone zigzagged its way up a valley, cruelly picking off buildings at will. 73-year-old Wilga Druitt was one of the unlucky ones. Her brick home, filled with antiques, demolished.
This is my dining room kitchen. 300-year-old antique table and chairs there, smashed to pieces. And the cuckoo clock still on the wall. It nearly blew me down the stairs, and I thought, no, I've got to get in the bathroom.
Across the road, and this house was flattened, first stripped of its roof before the walls caved in.
I've just got truckloads of guys here. And we've moved everything we can out. Everyone's willing to help. Yeah.
More than 100 homes and holiday flats were damaged. A hotel was also wrecked. The winds peeled off its roof. Caravans at a Pambula campsite offered little resistance. Picked up and tossed around, Margaret Nash was inside one.
As I was going to the door to get out, the whole van tipped over, and so I was just thrown back to the ground.
Miss Nash was one of 4 people admitted to hospital. 35 others needed treatment for minor injuries. It seems disasters like this always bring out stories of miraculous escapes. And here there is no shortage. The stunned residents are at least thankful no lives were lost.
The little girl was in a bed on her own, and she got frightened and got in with her parents. And minutes later, the ceiling just ploughed into the bed where she'd been lying.
Much of Merimbula is still without power. The clean-up will take days.
Today, major insurer, the NRMA, claimed the disaster will cost it $1 million.
State emergency service crews today continued to assist residents and tourists in the clean-up after Sunday night's ordeal. The tornado cut a narrow path through Merimbula and Pambula, but its effect was devastating. The Department of Community Services has established a crisis centre at the Black Dolphin Motel in Merimbula. Counsellors are door-knocking in attempts to locate and identify displaced families. The crisis centre is offering not only immediate relief in terms of food, clothing and shelter, but also counselling services.
And as the effects really hit home, then these people naturally are going to go into shock, and they are going to need counselling to help them come to terms with the grief and the loss that they have suffered.
About 100 homes and 10 motels were destroyed. SES volunteers have been working around the clock to stabilise the situation and clear away debris.
For the devastation that's around, they've been very grateful and very helpful. They're always willing to give us a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, which we really appreciate. You know, we're here to help them as them helping us too.
The Salvation Army also worked through the day, feeding tired and hungry volunteers and residents. Most of the clean-up was completed yesterday, the SES responding to 131 calls for assistance.
It is a disaster. I think the impending thunderstorm kept people indoors, and that's why they weren't hit by debris. I mean, anyone looking at the photographs will see the amount of iron and glass that was pelted around, so we're very happy that no one got seriously injured.
This afternoon they were heading home, but the insurance assessors were there to stay. Their job just as daunting.
Most of them that I've seen certainly have got plenty of insurance and will be able to repair their houses or even knock them over and rebuild them for the sums insured that I've seen so far.
Most expect the damage bill to run into the tens of millions. The NRMA has already received about 100 claims worth $1 million. One claim alone is for...
The Bureau now claims the area was hit by a tornado, not a mini-cyclone as first thought.
There was never any doubt the damage bill would run into millions. Today it was up to assessors to determine just how many.
A bit early to say, but tens of millions of dollars.
The Weather Bureau says the storm lasted only 40 seconds, but it was enough to damage 118 houses, holiday flats and 2 hotels.
Tornadoes do occur in Australia, so even though they are a rare event, it is still likely that it may have been one.
Almost all the buildings sustained roof damage and can be repaired. However, 12 houses will have to be demolished and rebuilt.
It is a disaster. I think the impending thunderstorm kept people indoors, and that's why they weren't hit by debris that was thrown around.
For the families who've lost their homes, they